Hello, I'm going to read you one of my favourite childhood books. It's by a famous author called Roald Dahl, who I'm sure you're familiar with from books such as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This one, though, is one I remember from when I was in primary school. It's called George's Marvellous Medicine. Now, George is having to look after his grandma, who's quite horrible to him, and he's been told to go and get her medicine. Now, he had a different plan, though. He was going to make her extra special medicine. And I'm going to read you one of the chapters where George begins to make the medicine. George took an enormous saucepan out of the cupboard and placed it on the kitchen table. George, came the shrill voice from the next room. What are you doing? Nothing, Grandma, he called out. You didn't think I could hear you just because you closed the door? You're rattling the saucepans. I'm tidying the kitchen, Grandma. There was a silence. George had absolutely no doubts whatsoever about how he was going to make his famous medicine. He wasn't going to fall about wondering whether to put it a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Quite simply, he was going to put everything he could find. There would be no messing about, no hesitating, no wondering whether a particular thing would knock the old girl sideways or not. The rule would be this: whatever he saw, if it was runny or powdery or gooey, it went in. Nobody had ever made a medicine like that before. If it didn't actually cure Grandma, then it would anyway cause some exciting results. It would be worth watching. George decided to work his way round the various rooms one at a time and see what they could offer. He would go first to the bathroom. There were always lots of funny things in the bathroom. So upstairs he went, carrying the enormous two-handled saucepan before him. In the bathroom, he gazed longingly at the famous and dreaded medicine cupboard, but he didn't go near it. It was the only thing in the entire house he was forbidden to touch. He had made solemn promises to his parents about this, and he wasn't going to break them. There were things in there, they had told him, that could actually kill a person. And although he was out to give Grandma a pretty fiery mouthful, he didn't really want a dead body on his hands. George put the saucepan on the floor and went to work. Number one was a bottle labelled Golden Gloss Hair Shampoo. He emptied it into the pan. That ought to wash her tummy nice and clean, he said. He took a full tube of toothpaste and squeezed the whole lot of it in one long worm. Maybe that will brighten up those horrid brown teeth of hers, he said. There was an aerosol can of super foam shaving foam belonging to his father. George loved playing with aerosols. He pressed the button and kept his finger on it until there was nothing left. A wonderful mountain of white foam built up in the giant saucepan. With his fingers, he scooped out the contents of a jar of vitamin-enriched face cream. In went a small bottle of scarlet nail varnish. If the toothpaste won't clean her, George said, then this will paint them as red as roses. He found another jar of creamy stuff labelled hair remover. Smear it on your legs, it said, and allow to remain for 5 minutes. George tipped it in the saucepan. There was a bottle of yellow stuff inside it called Dishworth's famous dandruff cure. In it went. There was something called Brilident for cleaning false teeth. It was a white powder. In that went too. He found another aerosol can, Nevermore Ponking Deodorant Spray, guaranteed, it said, to keep away unpleasant body smells for a whole day. She could use plenty of that, George said as he sprayed the entire canful into the saucepan. Liquid paraffin, the next one was called. It was a big bottle. He hadn't the faintest idea what it had to do, but he poured it in anyway. That, he thought, looking around him, was all about everything from the bathroom. On his mother's dressing table in the bedroom, George found yet another lovely aerosol can. It was called Helga's Hair Set. Hold 12 inches away from the hair and spray lightly. He squirted the whole lot into the saucepan. He did enjoy squirting these aerosols. There was another bottle of perfume called Flowers of Turnips. It smelled of old cheese. In it went. And in too went a large round box of powder. It was called Pink Plaster. There was a powder puff on the top, and he threw that in as well for luck. He found also a couple of lipsticks. He pulled the greasy red things out of their little cases and added them to the mixture. Would you drink this horrible sounding medicine? I definitely wouldn't want to. And in the story, he is going to give the medicine to Grandma. He's going to add lots more things in it too, and he's going to give it to Grandma. Wonder what's going to happen. Maybe you should read it. It's a really good book, George's Marvellous Medicine by Roald Dahl. Read it, and it's so fun to read. And it's a book by Puffin Books. You'll really, really enjoy it. I think when I was little, I was so inspired by it that I went home and I actually got told off for emptying a couple of bottles of things into a pan before my mum realised that what I was actually doing. But no way would I ever have drunk it. That sounds absolutely revolting. I hope you enjoyed this part of the chapter, but please do get this book. It's a really, really fantastic book to read.